Gentlemen, it has been a while since I've actually hit the record button, but we're back. And we're here with an updated guide, a way better guide than my first guide on how to get better at Apex. Now, how I'm going to do this is my first one was targeted towards players who are newer players, or I guess people who are getting back into the Apex scene. So the video's outdated with legends and also the guns added, and also the firing range is also completely different. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to split it up each section. So there's going to be 3 different sections: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. This is based upon your opinion. If you think that you are a beginner player, which I would say beginner is from level 1 to 50, maybe even 1 to 100. No, 1 to 50. So if you're from level 1 to 50, I would say that's more of like in the beginner range. For intermediate, that is levels I would say 51 to level 150. That's a good range, because your halfway mark will be your level 100, which you'll get your cool badge, you get your cool charm, you'll get all that cool stuff. And then level 150 is kind of like the point where you're like, okay, I'm like there. And then I'd say level 150 and above is 151 plus, is where you have reached that point where you know what you're doing. You're like, I'd say that you're good at the game, and you should be good at doing all that fun stuff. So let's get started. Loading into the firing range here. Now, as I'm loading in here, when you are a newer player and you just start out, you'll have to do the training, and you'll have to do your orientation matches, which those shouldn't take too long. Now, let's begin with the beginner tips. Okay, so a little quick thing that I'm just going to say before I continue on. At the time of me recording this, I've fully finished recording all 3 parts, but I will put timestamps in for each individual part, because this will be a longer video, especially since at the beginning there's not really that much that is actually given to, help out. Like, I don't really give that many tips to beginner players, since they are starting out, not trying to flood them out with more. And a lot of the tips won't be as detailed or as advanced, obviously, as certain tips that need more explaining in order to actually learn how to do the different movement or different tips. So I hope that, just to clarify that is good. If you're wondering where the timestamps are, again, they will be in the description. Alright, so down here, here in the firing range, as a beginner player, you're going to get 6 different legends to start out with: Bloodhound, Bangalore, Gibraltar, Lifeline, Pathfinder, and Wraith. Now, they're trying to give you legends in the different categories. So if you want to be more team-orientated, then use Bloodhound. You'll be able to scan all the different enemies around in the scan radius, and he's overall just good to use for the team. Bangalore goes really well for a team composition that uses Bangalore, or that uses Bangalore and Bloodhound, or any kind of scanning legend like Seer. But right now you'll be focusing on using basic team compositions like Bangalore, Bloodhound, and Wraith. Now, Bangalore is really good for certain things, like if I'm getting chased, I use a smoke grenade, and I kind of cover where I'm running, or I throw it in front of me, and I'm able to use that smoke and kind of go somewhere else and change up the direction, where I might go left or right whilst running away. So she's really good for also aggressive pushes, where even though that you can't see anything, the enemies can't see anything either until close range. So you'll be able to kind of confuse everyone else in that fight. Now Gibraltar,
back in action. Let's do this, brothers.
he's a big boy. Gibraltar's very big. He has a big hitbox, and if you get shot at, you'll be taking a lot of damage, but he does have the ability to take less damage. And what comes with this is he has his
Shield up.
bubble, which lasts for a certain amount of time. You can't shoot through it, they can't shoot through it, and when you're in here, you can actually heal yourself faster and resurrect people faster. And Gibby actually has his own faster res animation. So Gibby's pretty good, although he is very clunky. Then we have Lifeline. Now Lifeline is good for the team. You have your Doc drone, which heals you for your white health. So if I have, and if you don't know what white health is, pretty much just the base health, your base 100 health. Doc heals you up for that. So if you get dealt some damage, like if I go back over here and I grab I have a gray shield, and then I get hit with a frag grenade. Let me reset this character abilities.
And never quit. Remember that.
So I throw down a grenade. I get hit. I take lots of damage. I can use, say, 2 shield cells at the same time, where I throw this down and I heal at the same time. So I'm healing both shields and my actual white heals at the same time. So she's really good as a newer, if you're newer, she's easier to use compared to other characters. Then we have Pathfinder. Pathfinder is taller and has a little bit more of a bigger hitbox, but has the fun ability of zipline and grappling. He's really good for getting the whole team with his ultimate, with his zipline, to higher places, and his grapple is really good for either you to get yourself closer to enemies or to get farther away from enemies. And then finally, Wraith.
The right choice.
Wraith, out of all of these people, has the smallest hitbox. She's also a character that is still viable to use and is very good in higher levels. She has her ultimate, which makes her invisible. You can't interact with anything, no one can shoot you, you can't shoot them, and you can easily get away, and you actually get a little bonus movement speed from it, and by a little, it's a pretty good movement bonus. Now, if you're starting out, I'd recommend using Bloodhound, Bangalore, or Lifeline. You can actually do a really good team with a Bangalore, Bloodhound, and Lifeline, or a Gibraltar. It's all dependent on who you like to play and who you're playing with. Where it doesn't matter, you don't have to organize team compositions, good teams. As long as you know who you're playing and you know how to play them, that's all that really matters. Now, Legends is one half of the battle. The next half is guns. And you're going to want to learn how to use some pretty good guns, like the Nemesis, which, yes, it is a burst. It is a burst weapon, which might actually turn some people down from using the gun. It is a 4-round burst that deals lots of damage. Where in 4 bursts, you will be able to kill someone with a red armor, which is the highest health armor that you can get, which gives you an extra 125. Now, the Nemesis, as you shoot it, so if I let this go down, it's gonna, as it slowly cools down there, or slows down, so it has as I shoot it, the bursts are a little bit slower in between. But as I shoot it, the gap in between all the bursts and how fast the bullets get shot out are faster. Similarly to the Nemesis, another burst weapon that's pretty good is the Prowler. Now, the only problem about the Prowler is that it is very, very ammo consuming. Both the Nemesis and the Prowler use a lot of ammo. So, if you use the Prowler, as you see, it does 5 shots per burst, where if you have, so if I turn off infinite ammo here, let me turn that off, infinite ammo reloads, I have 20, right? So usually when you drop, you will pick up 40, around a gun will be a stack of 40, or there'll be 40 ammo around it. So, based on this, if you pick up a Prowler, you will have a total of 3 mags. The magazine that is already in the gun, and your 2 spare magazines. And with the Prowler, I would recommend that if you, like, kill the person, and say you only need to use 2 bursts, then reload and make sure that you still have that full 20. So, because if you just do 2 bursts and you kill them, and then someone else comes, and it will probably take maybe more than 2 bursts, and say like you miss a burst, then that means that you have to do 2 bursts and reload, while it'll be easier to do 2 bursts, reload, and then you'll have 4 bursts ready for the next person. But I'm going to turn back on infinite ammo reloads for now. So Prowler is another really viable weapon you can use. Then, we have one of my favorites, the R301. Now, the R301 is one of these weapons that is very good at both close and medium ranges. So it can be good for someone that is pushing up on me. If my secondary gun is out of ammo, I use the R301. Or if I see someone from a longer range where my secondary can't reach, like an SMG, like the Prowler, then I can use it to shoot from longer range. Now, when it comes to using the R301, I would recommend that you get the 2X HCOG Bruiser. Use the Bruiser, because it will give you a nice zoom, and I feel like this is the perfect amount of zoom that you need for an AR. I would say, unless you're comfortable with it, picking up a 3X, I don't know if you would say that would be really viable, but it would be pretty good. And I would say never put a 2X on the Prowler, just because you don't need that amount of range for a Prowler. Now, shotguns. Always use the EVA 8. When you're in lower levels, use the EVA 8, because you will be able to, you don't even have to ADS with it. Because when you ADS with it, you will move a little bit slower. So you don't have to worry about anything like that when you're hip firing. As you can see here, I can just hip fire. And when I hip fire, I tend to get a lot more a bigger damage output no matter where I'm hitting. It's actually pretty nice when it comes to a shotgun. And as a newer player, never use the Mozambique unless you always have to. If it is something that if it's the first weapon you find, pick it up, because it's better than having no gun. But if you don't need it, don't pick it up. Now, as a newer player, I'd say maybe try and stay out of the range of the Peacekeeper and the Mastiff. Both literally the shooting range and also not picking it up. Because these are both higher skilled weapons that require a lot more aim, especially the Peacekeeper. So EVA 8 is a perfect gun to use, which you can easily pair it up with the R301. So I would say a nice combo to run would be an R301 for both your medium and close range, but the EVA 8 can know that from whatever range that they come close, like if they're coming close towards you, you can use the EVA 8 and make sure that you get an amazing damage output, or not amazing, but a good damage output on your enemy. Now, Apex Legends comes with movement, and with movement comes, I'd say, your keybinds, your button layout. Now, I would recommend to have these controls. Now, the reason why is because when you're shooting, when I was using the EVA 8, crouching and uncrouching whilst also looking around and shooting will be hard to do on your basic default controls. Because if you're using your thumb to crouch, that means that your thumb is doing the work of moving around and crouching and uncrouching. Or if you don't want to do that, you'd have to claw grip. But I know a lot of people aren't really entailed to actually claw grip. Like if I try and do that right now, or if I pick up an EVA 8 with these keybinds, and I say I had it as crouch, I had default crouch as toggle, I'd have to go, and it'd be very hard to actually do. It'd be very hard to shoot because I'm kind of moving. I'm moving at a minuscule amount left to right compared to with my settings where I have crouch as hold, not toggle. Where when I hold it and let go, that when I hold it, I'll crouch, and when I let go, I'll uncrouch. And having my buttons as I do, where you have jump as L1, it'll be easier to jump, and crouch as R1. It'll be easier to look around and crouch at the same time. And doing a slide and a jump will be way easier to do using these binds, using these button binds. So I find this to be pretty useful. I would recommend using it. You're not entailed to use it, but I would recommend that. And then for your look sensitivity, I'd recommend 4, maybe even 5, depends on the person. I would say 4 is good, 5 if you want to as well. And then your ADS, I just keep at default 3. So this applies to every single optic that I use, will be at 3 ADS sensitivity. Now you can change it up where you have each individual thing, like if you want a 10x, if you want it to be a higher, you want higher sensitivity on that, if you want lower sensitivity on 1x or iron sights, you'll be able to do all that. But I recommend don't play around with all that. Just stay focused on your basic look sensitivity and look sensitivity ADS. Now for video, you want to, for your sprint view shake, you want to, I have it at minimal. It doesn't really matter if you have it on normal. I would put it on minimal, but FOV ability scaling, disable that, and FOV, make sure that you have it, put it at something comfortable. I would say that at 70, it's way too zoomed in, but at 110 is where it's kind of like a perfect, it's at a perfect view. I'm able to see a lot more. Like as you can see here, if I'm aiming down, if I have this like this, if I have my camera like this, and I put it at 70, I can no longer see past, I can't even see the full wall where the 3 targets are. If I look at the left, there, I can't even see past what's there. But then I go to settings, and I put it to 110 FOV, I can see much beyond that. I can actually see the sign that moves in and out of screen without actually having to move my camera. You will see more, which means that you will have more information, gather more information on where enemies are, which if you see an enemy, that means if you want to push that enemy, or if you want to try and get out of their way. Now, when it comes to movement, the biggest movement that I can give advice to is movement while healing. Movement whilst healing. So, when we heal, obviously, we move slower, which isn't that optimal in comparison to, actually running around, sprinting, and jumping. So, what I like to do is whenever I heal, I try and gain. So, if I'm here and I get this enemy over there, right? Let me get I forgot myself an R301. I'm fighting this enemy right here, and he hits me. I hit him up. I kind of hit him above, like, say, like that much. He hits me, and he gets me down to this amount of shields. Instead of crouching and just moving like this, which, yes, it would be if you have, like, certain cover like this. You would want to do that. But if I'm more in the open, right? Like, say I'm fighting him right here, instead of just popping a
Give my
shield
shields a recharge.
and trying to move, because I move slower, I become an easier target. When it's easier to holster or just kind of run and then do what I like to call like the slide jump heal.
Give my shields a recharge.
I know it's kind of slow there, but how it will work is we'll show it here. I'm trying to gain cover behind this right here, behind this little
Let's check out this area.
table here.
Forget that.
Instead of
Give me a
popping a
sec.
heal
Recharge
and
my
going like
shields.
this, which yes, I did still get there, I would be able to get there faster, maybe even cover more ground by running, sliding,
Give my shields a recharge.
and I'm actually now behind here. And the reason why I do this, and why you should do it too, is it will allow you to cover more ground
Frag out.
and be harder to actually be predictable. Like, you won't be as predictable if they'll know, like, oh wait, he went back here. But when you're sliding, you might be harder to see sliding behind a certain piece of cover. They might think, okay, he's by here, so let's just start checking nades here, or throwing utility over on this
check out
desk.
this area.
Meanwhile, you know that you're over here, and you can easily just come out. Let me get another heal. Like, say this dummy here is an actual player. He thinks I'm here. He throws a nade. I'm not there. I fully healed up, and then I peek out, and I do a little more damage. I go, and then I do my little repositioning, and then I actually kill him. Now this I find, so as you see,
Give me a
when you
sec.
pop,
Recharge
when
your
I hit the
shields.
button, it takes a little bit before you actually take out your heal. So for shields, as you see, I hit it, and then I get that little animation
Give me a sec. Recharging shields.
before. It gives it a little, I'd say about a second delay. So what you can do is you can slide, and while you're in the slide, a bit before, this is more timing based, you can actually slide and jump as you can hit your heal button while you slide, and then jump before you actually get your movement penalty, and you can cover more ground while healing, which I would say is very useful in lower level lobbies. Now we move on to intermediate. Alright, so here we are now on our intermediate section. You've been playing the game for a bit, you got to level 50. You're feeling good. Now, you've probably experimented with a lot of the guns, you've probably given a passionate hate for the wingman, saying that the wingman is one of the worst weapons in the game, and why is it in the game? I'm never picking this gun up, which you will most likely feel that hatred no longer when you actually get higher into the ranks. You probably like the L-Star just because it is a higher damage weapon. You probably might also like the Hemlock. You might even not like the Hemlock. Like myself, I love the Hemlock. But everyone's different. You might not like the Hemlock. You might think that it is bad because it is a burst weapon. Everyone's got their own details. Everyone's got their own preference. You might think Kraber's bad. You might be a demon and think the Kraber is the best thing ever. All that doesn't really matter, right? But what does matter, though, is a good arsenal for you to run. So, once more, you've experimented with a lot of weapons. You may have a fond love for the R301. You might have also dabbled with all the heavy weapons, and you might also have a formidable love for the car, right? The car is an amazing SMG, which I would also recommend that you use it. And with a combination, if you love to run the R301 and the car SMG, you are set. You have yourself a good loadout that if you are able to consistently get that, no matter when in the game, whether that's off of somebody else's body and they have good amount of ammo, or you're able to find that early on, and you're persistent, and you're persistent with how you hit shots, you are consistently winning gunfights, at least one 1v1 gunfights with other people with this loadout, I would say keep using it. If you love this loadout, you should run it. But you might be like some people and not know what to choose. You might be over the question of, do I use the flatline or do I use the R301? Do I use the R99, the car SMG, or do I use the Volt? Or do I use the Mastiff or do I use the Peacekeeper? There's all these questions, and I'm going to answer that for you today. So, flatline, let's sum this up into kind of like a versus thing. So you have flatline and R301. Imagine this like the whole argument between Phantom and Vandal in Valorant. The flatline is the Vandal, where it has higher damage, lower fire rate, harder to use. R301, higher fire rate, less damage, but easier to use. These two are like the yin and yang. The flatline you might not like because its recoil is a little bit too jumpy from left to right. It might go left and right too much for you, and you might deem that as hard to control. You might love the flatline because you have mastered its recoil. You think that you are able to optimize it perfectly without missing a lot of shots, and you are able to effectively take out your opponents. If you like heavy hitting weapons, then use the flatline. The flatline is going to be one of the, like as you can see, it melts through armor here. I love using the flatline more than the R301 just because I love putting out high levels of damage. So in my opinion, I would use the flatline more than the R301. Now, here we go to SMGs. I would say if you get an alternator, use that at the start, but if you're able to switch it out for something like an R99 or a car SMG, definitely do. So our alternator is already out of the question. We're not going to be using it. But then, here we go. We have the car SMG versus the R99 versus the Volt, which all three of these start out with a base of 19 ammo, 19 rounds in the magazine. And because they're all good SMGs, like the car SMG shoots fast, but it's going to have a little bit of a harder recoil to control. Same with the R99. This one shoots really fast. It's going to have a little bit of a harder recoil to control. And then we also have the Volt, which I would say probably has the hardest recoil to control, given the fact that it used to be as almost a zero recoil gun, which would be hard to actually miss shots. Now, in terms of ammo, the car SMG, I would say, is the most versatile SMG ever. Because you could have a light ammo or heavy rounds. And you can switch between the car SMG taking light rounds or it taking heavy. So if you were to run a car and an R301, you could potentially run double light ammo or heavy and light ammo. Now, I would say that the car, because if you get like a purple light mag, but you find a gold heavy mag, you're able to change that, and you have the capability of, if you're rocking a heavy and a light gun, again, we're going back to the car 301, that's what I like to call that, the car SMG and the R301. If you have that purple mag, if you were to have a purple mag on the car, and you find a heavy mag that's better, you can switch those out, and that light mag won't be just dropped. It will go to your other gun. And it is very flexible. It is very good where if you like the car, but you want to use the R3, or you want to use the R99 more, you can easily use that and look for light. You can look for your easy attachments like your stock and sight, and you can find a light mag and put it on this gun, and once you find the R9, or in this case you craft the R9 in this season, then you're able to, it's a great versatile weapon for either holding ammo or if you just find a better attachment. Now, in comparison to the Volt, there's definitely a lot of problems. So one thing is it's easier to long range with the Volt because the energy weapons have less of a bullet drop, since the bullets are deemed as lighter than the other weapons than the other, like the light rounds and the heavy ammo. But the problem is that it has recoil. It has pretty high recoil, especially for no mag. It's definitely one of like the harder ones to control. And when you have a purple mag on it, I would say it's still even kind of hard to control. Definitely easier, but still a little bit harder to control. And the last problem with it is energy ammo. The fact that it takes energy ammo immediately kind of takes it down on the list. Even though that the Nemesis, yes, it is good, and you can just hold down the trigger and it will keep shooting out those 4 bursts. The problem that becomes prevalent is the fact that it will be harder to find yourself energy rounds. So therefore, I would say in comparison between CAR, R99, and Volt, the CAR SMG is probably the best out of the 3 that you could use. The R9 is next, and the Volt is last. But this is all my preference, so you can take that as you like. Now, you probably also have some legends that you have become prevalent with and you like probably Octane. And for example, with Octane, really good weapons to run would be the Mastiff. You can get nice close range, you can stim up, and just kind of get your deal your shotgun damage, you know, heal up, do some little extra stuff, you know. Add some spice, add some flavoring onto your moves. And I love the Mastiff. It's a great, I guess you could say, more of like a, not beginner shotgun, but more of like one of the intermediate shotguns to use. And pairs well with either any SMG or any kind of, say you're running the 30-30 as a long range, and you have your close range right here. It's really good. If you have an R9, it's really good. An R301. It is one of those guns where it is flexible and goes along with almost every single weapon loadout and weapon combination that you're going for. So Mastiff is a really good one to run. Now we're gonna go on to movement. Now, because you are level 50 plus, level 50 to around level 150, you have experimented with legends. You probably don't like Gibby. You probably don't like playing Lifeline. You probably think Bangalore's okay, and you might like Bloodhound a bit, but you might just want to move fast. So Octane is a good one. There's nothing really important other than knowing that when you say crouch or slide onto the pad, you move farther. Like I move here, I landed here. When you, in comparison to if you run onto it, then you know, I'm going to land here. I should have landed around maybe here, but that's just because of that little minor mishap of the ledge. And then if you punch onto it, which is how you get your verticality, I punch onto it and I go vertically, obviously. And this is really good for actually scanning out. If you just want to look at where something is or get up to height, you're able to do that. Now, you might be one of the Pathfinder players, which I love playing Pathy, and there's actually some good movement that you're actually able to learn off of him. One you've probably already learned is that when you grapple and you look away from the camera, look away from where you're grappling. So if I grapple here, right, I can move like this and gain distance up till this like little rock pebbles here, compared to when I let me have this recharge, compared to when I look away and move. When I move and look away, I will get a lot more of an arc, so I will swing a lot wider, and closer towards the end of my grapple, I will fling myself, and I'll fling myself farther. And it all comes down to how far you look, but you don't want to look too far, because then you just cancel the grapple. And you don't move that far. Which this is pretty basic when it comes to Pathfinder, which you should already know how to do this. Combo it with some slide jumps, maybe some bunny hops. Where I bring up bunny hops. Bunny hops this is where you want to have your crouch as hold. Or so if you have it as toggle, right? Let me put it as toggle. When I slide and I jump and I go for another bunny hop, it'll be harder to do because if I just hold it and I go like this, I would have to click R3 again in order to go back into that crouch state and bunny hop. But if I hold it, no matter if I jump, I'm still in that sliding position where I can still slide, and then it's all about not spamming the jump button, but about timing your jumps, where every time that you see that you're about to land, that's when you hit your jump button to get a little bit more of a boost, which is pretty good. And you can combo that with, again, the Pathy arc throw. And then all you gotta do is you just gotta move in the direction. You look in a direction of where you want to go when you b-hop, and you'll go that direction. You might take a little bit longer to get into that turn, but you'll still get there. Now, more advanced Pathy movement. We have the jump grapple. Now, when I grapple, you see that Pathy, he moves up. He kind of gains a little bit of an elevation, where he is not like he is dragging his legs on the floor. It's not any friction and contact. It is literally just the player model getting pulled towards the anchor. The anchored, where your grapple anchored. And you can abuse this by doing a arc throw, where as soon as you see Pathy connect and have that little jump there, you can actually hit your jump button. So he kind of does like an automatic jump, but when you time it correctly, as you see there, I swing very far. And this is one of those momentum things where if I'm trying to push someone,
Let's go this way.
And say I had a weapon, I could use that momentum. Like, as you see there, I messed it up. I still kind of went far, but not as far as I want to. Because there's the difference between jumping early and jumping too late. If you jump early, you'll get that same outcome. And if you jump too late, nothing's gonna happen, and you're gonna get the same outcome as if you just hit the button. Which is why as soon as you get that little jump, that is when you want to hit your jump button, and you can actually cut the Pathfinder zip short by hitting crouch. So you can fling yourself even farther. So like there, I messed it up, but I still gained a good amount of distance. And this is really good for either running away or pushing enemies. It's really good for pushing enemies, I would say. And now we hit our final Pathfinder specific movement before we move on to the final bit of movement. And I just call this a yank grapple, where when you use your grapple at any surface, like if you just shoot it in the sky, obviously you don't see those blue lines around your crosshair or on your little center dot. But if I were to, say, angle myself like this, and I throw my grapple, and as soon as I throw my grapple, I move to the side where I see that the grapple interact with the wall, it hits the wall, as you see there, and it will allow me to actually yank myself a further distance. Which sometimes you can actually, and sometimes I would say a lot of the time, you can actually gain more distance than if you used a regular, than if you use just a regular Pathfinder grapple. And I'd say it works better on, like, I guess 90-degree angles, like here. it's a 90-degree angle here, so I would move there, and I gain a lot more distance than on walls with 45-degree angle corners. So I'd recommend doing that. This is more of a pushing an enemy grapple technique than a running away. Because if I try and run away and use this, I have to focus on, okay, I have to move to the side, and if I move too far and I miss it, right? Like there I hit it. But if I miss the grapple, then that takes away time from me actually escaping and could potentially be the reason why I die in that game. So that's all 3 pathy movements that I will give for you guys.
That was awesome.
And then usable on any legend. Now to show that it's usable on any legend, let's play
Now
Wraith.
for the right choice.
So Wraith, or any legend, except for Valkyrie actually, and Valkyrie on certain circumstances. And I'll get to that later. You can do your wall bounce. Now if you've watched any thing that has to do with movement, or any Apex Legends montages, you'll see a lot of people just throw in a wall bounce. It may be unnecessary, you might see them, or it may look really cool, but it allows for you to be harder to track and harder to hit. And how you do this is you run up to a wall and you slide. And before you actually collide with the wall, you will want to hit your jump button. So like this. And then, as you see, I hit that little climbing animation where you see my character's hands going up. As soon as you hear that your character's climbed like this, you hear that kind of interaction where your character's hands hit the wall because you're climbing it. That's when you want to hit your jump button again, where you will propel yourself off of the wall like this. And you can also pair this up with a bunny hop. Now this can be either used through multiple different scenarios, where you could be in a Wraith phase, you're running away, and you hit a wall bounce. That could be used to get away, gain some extra mobility from that, move farther away, or pushing a team. You could push a team, push a certain fight, you see someone running away, or you see someone there, use a little wall bounce, throw them off a little bit, you're good. Now, does this require hold to crouch? No. Is it preferred? Yes. Now, this one you can also hit while using default controls, but it will be a little bit harder just to hit the timing of it. So I would recommend, again, using my keybinds or my button presets that I showed earlier. And that is all of the intermediate movement. That is all of the movement that I will show. And before I end off, I did say that it is usable, the wall bounce is usable on every legend except
done yet,
Valkyrie
Dad.
in
Missing
most
squad?
circumstances. And these circumstances are 2 things. One,
Wings out.
so Valkyrie has her jetpack, right? Which obviously has fuel. And the fuel limits how
Wings up.
far, how high, how far she can fly. And obviously when you're out of the fuel, you can't fly. You can't fly anymore. Which means that you have the same basic properties as every single legend. That, hey, I am able to just do
Wings
sliding, and I'm able to do jumping, and I'm able to do all this. So when your jets are out of fuel, so let me burn my jets. Wait for it to go up. I burn it out. I am able to do a wall bounce as Valkyrie. If I can actually hit it. If I don't mess it up. So here, I can do a wall bounce. And that's only because whilst you're in midair,
Wings out.
like as you saw there, I hit the jump button, but I also, even though I did kind of propel myself from the wall, I immediately lose that momentum as soon as I hit the jetpack. And the other circumstance is
If you're wondering
Revenant,
about an afterlife,
where if you don't know what he does, he pops his silence,
shut you up.
where it deals damage, and you aren't able to use her ability. So if Valkyrie gets hit with this,
Woo. And then back in the game.
let me. Oh, okay. I have to be a little bit quicker with it. I can show this off. So if I
Why
have
can't I just die?
like
I'm gonna
Revenant,
shut you up.
then I go to Valkyrie.
Not done yet, Dad. Miss me, squad?
Oh, okay, so I can't have myself my own silence. But imagine I get silence, right? I get silenced, and then I can't use my jetpack. I'm just like a basic legend without a jetpack. So it disables all things, and that's when Valkyrie can actually wall bounce. So that is all of the intermediate tips and tricks that I am able to give out to all of you guys here. Now, let's move on to the advanced tips. Alrighty, now ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the advanced part of this guide of how to get better at Apex. So, again, this is, as I said at the start, I would say that it being, I guess, advanced at the game would be from level 150 and above. Or level 151, whatever you want to call it. Level 150, level 151, and above. So, we're going to get through weapons that you should probably start using to either be a little bit more flashy, to excel, to, I guess you could say, even assert that you are the better player. Because that is one thing, is depending on, how you move in the fight, what gun you're using, it can definitely assert that, hey, I'm a better player. Which in higher levels, EVA 8 is considered, oh, he's just using spam. Oh my gosh, get this kid out of here. Or you're using the charge rifle, and it's easily just like, oh, look at this kid. This kid's using the charge rifle, and a lot of people might actually even leave. Which, yes, you might be like, oh, they're leaving. Doesn't that mean that gives me a better chance at playing, at getting, more game wins? Not all people are going to leave, but it is going to say, I would say it is going to definitely lower the chance of you actually excelling at the game using weapons that are easy to use. Now, weapons that you should probably start getting used to are the Wingman, the Peacekeeper. Another one that you probably want to really know how to use is the G7. You also want to get used to and learn how to use the Prowler. You really want to get down. You really want to get down how the Flatline and R301 work. You definitely want to be balanced in using the R9. Same with, not the Rampage, but the Car SMG. And out of all those, the ones I would say are really big help is Car SMG, R301, G7 Scout, Peacekeeper. Let me pick up the Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper, and the Wingman. Which the Wingman is my favorite. I cannot deny that. Wingman is my favorite. Now, you may be asking, why these guns? Why the Wingman? Why the Peacekeeper? Well, Peacekeeper, even base without any attachments, is really good. With the choke, what you're doing when you're using the choke is you are tightening the bullet spread. You're tightening the spread. So the choke doesn't affect hipfire as much. Like, you can charge it up and then hit a little hipfire. Like, you could be like peeking some guy, pop up, and then hit a little hipfire. Although you have to be quick with it. Or you could ADS and peek with the choke on, but without the choke, I would say, I don't know if you would be dealing as much. It's all dependent on who's using it. I would say it wouldn't be bad to use the choke. The only problem is that you do have to be a little bit more precise with your aim in comparison to being able to just, you know, spam a PK. Then the wingman. The wingman on base deals 45 to the body, deals 63 to the head, and then 41 to the leg. Which the only reason why I went in full detail is because that is very important on, you know, where you hit them, and also to show that this is a strong weapon. This weapon does not play. And with Skull Piercer equipped, it now goes from the base, take this off again, from a base 63 to the noggin, now to a 69 damage to the head. Which means that you can do headshot, headshot, body, body. Oh, let me hit that body one more time. You can also do headshot, 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 triple headshot, quadruple headshot, 1, 2, 3, body. You can also, obviously you want to be aiming for the upper body, but, you know, by chance you hit a headshot, headshot, then you hit him in the legs, and then, you know, you hit another headshot. All those factor in to the damage output that you get. And I would say that when you're shooting it, you kind of want to be moving in kind of a... You're gonna be... When I shoot it, at say about, like, medium range, I'm kind of trying to strafe. Or I'm moving back and forth, where I'm kind of trying to move, strafing left and right, where I'm mainly going more primarily left, where I know that where my crosshair is. If I'm going like this, and I strafe like this, I know that when I go back, I should at least be hitting the body. Like that. So if I'm going like this, you know, I know that I'm going to be hitting the body a decent amount. That's kind of what you want to be doing with strafing. Then, with certain weapons, it's really just a matter of time. It's time using the gun. Like, for example, the wingman. With how much time you put into the gun, you put in using the gun, you're going to get better at it. It's the same with using weapons like the Kraber. Where this thing, 189 to the head. If this dummy didn't have a red shield and had the max amount of stuff, like if I put this on epic, right? So if you have purple shield, purple helmet, it's no longer going to one hit. But if I were to have rare, right? It does 210 to the head. 210 to the head. I customize the range again. Put on common. Hit a little reload. Easy. 252 damage. It's lethal. It is by far, obviously, the best sniper. Sadly, you can no longer one-hit with it, but it is still the best sniper. Best in the game, best to use, especially with the fact that you're able to go from a 6x all the way to a 10x zoom. Now, the final weapon I'm just going to go over is Prowler. Prowler, the only reason why I say Prowler is that this is one of those, yes, you can say, oh, it's broken. It takes no skill to use. Kind of does. Because you got to make sure that you know how to hit at least 4 out of 5 bullets in the burst, if not all 5. And also knowing how much ammo you need. You need to know how much ammo you need. You need to know all of these, like, certain specifics, which all counter into that. That's one of the things, is knowing what you need for specific weapons. For a Prowler, I'm going to carry lots of ammo. For a flatline, I may carry, 3 stacks. A Peacekeeper, I figure that I only need 1 stack of ammo. R9, 4 stacks. R301, 3 to 4 stacks. It all depends on the weapons that I'm using, my weapon combo, my weapon types. It's all dependent on that. Now, one of these things is once you get to a specific level, I mean, you should be learning different team compositions already, but if you still can't really figure out, like, say, you and 2 other friends really love to play, I'll give you some good team compositions. I'll give you a team composition that me and my friends use. So we have Octane, Watson, and Valkyrie. Now you may be thinking, wait, but you guys have 2 people in the skirmisher class. What about having a support, or recon, or assault? Yes, we could have those. But for some reason, it just works out for us. And it's also interchangeable as well, where it really is dependent on, like, I could be playing Ash for one game, and we could still be doing good. We could have one of my other friends playing Bloodhound for one game, and we'd still be good. But it factors in that we built this squad around our mains. I main Octane, 1 mains Watson, 1 mains Valkyrie. And the reason why I say that this is good is Watson is there for the healing up shields, denying any kind of nade spam, any kind of projectiles that get thrown down on us, any kind of ultimates that include like a Gibby or Bangalore ultimate. You're able to deny that. You're able to lock up areas, secure areas very, very nice, very well, efficiently. You're able to efficiently set up different buildings that you are locking up. And then Octane is really good for if the Valkyrie ultimate isn't there, you can use your pad to get out, or use your pad to push up, which you're able to kind of really use the pad to even just gain cover or gain distance into the storm, or to get into ring, because of the main fact that you have the ability to have a fast ultimate. Your whole character is built around being faster, having increased mobility. The ultimate takes about 90 seconds to actually charge. Therefore, you're able to throw multiple pads down, so don't be afraid to throw your pad. Now, I'm not saying throw your pad every second you have it, but don't be afraid if you guys need to move closer to ring because you guys are rotating. Throw it and get into ring, or get closer to ring faster. Now, here's where Valkyrie comes in. Valkyrie comes in to play where when you're dropping, you're able to fully know where other teams are dropping. Say you're dropping Harvester, then you know, okay, one person is going middle. One person is going to get the high tier loot, the higher tier loot in the middle. One's going to loot the bins in the elevated central part. One's going to the building to the left. From there, you can kind of plan out where you and your squad is going to drop. Where you guys can either drop farther away from them, maybe even land at a completely different POI, depending on how many people are there. And Valkyrie's missiles are good for having people either get out of cover. Like, there's 2 things. If someone's behind cover and they can't get out of it, it's either you use your Valk missiles to have them move out into the open, or try and get them to move out into the open, or they can just stay there and take the damage and take the stun damage, where they have to waste heals. So it's kind of like a 50-50, where it's either, or, you just completely miss them, like it doesn't work, but that's still a good enough chance where you may have made them have to reposition, which I think that is an amazing thing that you're able to do. Learning how to use your legend abilities like Valkyrie's, where they're able to move around and you're able to have other people move out of their position, so they either don't take damage, or so, like they can get off of their positions, they have to relocate in order to either avoid taking damage and also getting stunned, you know? And then Valkyrie's ultimate definitely is useful if you oh my bad. If you need to get into zone, you can use Valkyrie. If you need to, especially with evac towers, she's even better, I would say, because you can have your friend place down an evac tower, the Valkyrie goes up, and then does a survey scan. I call it the UAV because the person just circles around, does like a circle, tries to scan as many people so you know positions of other players. It's really strong in second final ring and final ring, where you know where other people are, you know that you can use your Valk missiles when you come down or any nades to try and push people out of certain positions. It is very, very strong. And that's why I think that this team comp is very good. Now, yes, when you have the Watson ult down, the Valk missiles do get zapped up, but that's only because you are really close to that ult, where it's one of those things where, like, you can easily just you can do a Valk thing and just fly up and shoot your missiles. Which I would say it's one of, like, the more simpler things. And that's why I think that it is a very strong team comp. And I would say you should probably run it. You can test it out, maybe even, I'd say try and build around someone who's really good for the team. Like, see if either you or one of your friends likes playing Watson. I would say having a Watson on your team is always a good thing. She's very flexible and on how you try and set up any kind of building and any kind of push. She's very good for the team with heals and entry denial, because if you have zaps, yes, if you have fences, yes, it tells them that, oh, hey, there's someone here, there's a Watson on that team. If they try and push up on that building, it is either they shoot out the nodes, which you'll know because you hear it breaking, you hear the shots, or they try and go through the fence, which you will also hear. You'll get the ping that someone has ran through your fences, you'll get the damage, and game's game, right? Most of the time, teams that run into fences will lose, especially well-placed fences. Now, lastly, we have movement. So, movement, what I just pulled off there, is the super glide. Now, in order to do a super glide, we're going to have to edit our settings. So, go to button layout, and same settings that I showed you for your controller preset, go to customize. You can also do evolved, but that does make your tactical on, that does have your tactical on X, which I would recommend tactical on R1, ping on X. Now, once you have this something similar to this layout, have your crouch as hold, because when you have it as toggle, as soon as you jump, you will get taken out of this crouched phase, no matter if, or this crouch state, no matter if you hold the button or not. This is why you need to have crouch as hold. It's really good for, you know, being able to do some strafing. If you want to be really toxic, you can teabag really fast. But it's really good having crouch as hold for a lot of movement, like bunny hopping, as I mentioned earlier. So, how to super glide? Let's go into third person for a second. We want to, let me find third person. So, when we do this, we're going to be climbing, right? So, when we're climbing, we see our character. We see our character moving up like this. You know, our character climbs. We have this little audio cue that our character is about to climb up. So, there's the climbing, right? But then there's the noise. There's the audio cue that you are actually climbing on top of and over the ledge onto the top of the surface. And if you hear it, I'll let you guys hear it. That little thing there, as you hear the little audio cue, it kind of sounds like rustling. I guess you could also say it kind of sounds like you holstering your weapon. all of that comes down to, or like that little audio cue there is what you can use to actually pull off the super glide. Now, it is definitely hit or miss, depending on how much you practice it. It is a lot of it is just the time of button inputs. Think of it like a fighting game, where in order to do a certain combo, it's dependent on the button inputs and the timing of the button inputs. So, yes. Now, how do you know if you did it right? Well, if you go into third person, as you see when I'm jumping, my character has their knee up. If I'm jumping like this, jumping straight, yeah, if I'm jumping straight, jumping up and down, jumping straight forward, right? My knee goes forward. My knee goes forward kind of like I'm doing a flying knee strike. How you want your legs to be is, as you see when I'm jumping backwards, my legs, let me go up here. My legs kind of push out back, but when I'm super gliding, let me hit a super glide. When I'm super gliding, my legs, they kind of both go forward. Like they kind of kick out in front of me, almost kind of like you're in a slide. And how I like to imagine this is that your body, your character's player model, while you're doing a super glide, is kind of like the longest line on, or the longest side on a triangle. Like in a, you are the line that is being solved for a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's kind of a nerdy way to think of it, but it is kind of how it's kind of how I explain it to people of how to super glide. Is your body, when you look at it in the third person, is going to be like that a squared plus b squared equals c squared line. You are the c squared line where you are on an angle. The way that it looks is if it's like a right angle triangle, and you are the long line. That is pretty much what you are. You are that long line. That is what your character kind of looks like when other people look at you super gliding, when you look at yourself in third person super gliding, and when you pair it up with something like an octane stim, you can go really fast. Because obviously, you know, increased movement. Now you definitely do not want to run, you definitely don't want to practice super glides in third person. Oh, because you will get used to all of the, or you will get used to seeing the actual animation and not hearing the audio cues and not kind of knowing that timing. You won't have that like muscle memory, I figure, because I remember I spent time in the range for about 30 minutes when I first learned how to super glide, but when you actually learn how to super glide just by staying in first person, it's way easier and it is way better. So there's that. And then one more movement thing. I'm going to switch over to Pathfinder and get his ult, and I will show you this right now. I'm calling this Pathfinder movement just because if you have a Pathfinder, like if you're playing Pathfinder, you will be able to hit this a lot more consistently, a lot more consistent and consistently, because you are Pathfinder and you have the ability to actually, you know, use your zipline. So my friend taught me how to do this, and it is, as you saw there, it's just like a zipline jump, where what you're doing is you're jumping, and then when you jump, you're going to interact with the zipline, and as soon as you interact, what I do is I spam my jump button a whole bunch, where when I interact with the zipline, I'm going to jump up once more. So you jump, and then you gain an extra bit of height, because when you jump, you already gain some height off of that jump, and by doing this trick, you actually gain a lot more height. You gain pretty much about double the amount of height gained through a regular jump. And it's really good for certain things, like if you're peeking a wall, like say imagine there's a wall here, right? From the shadow, you see the shadow of my zip line? This line is like a wall, and it's about the height of this, right? It's like the height of, it's the height of this wall.
That.
I can't see over it. When I go and I peek it, like, yes, I can still peek over it, but it'll be harder for me to actually, say, get some shots off. I want to get that little extra bit of cheeky damage. So I'm going to take a Peacekeeper here. I'm going to show it to you with Pathfinder, and I'll show it to you with a different legend. So starting off here with Pathfinder, once more, you're going to jump, hit your jump button.
My ultimate is ready.
Then once you jump and you're in midair, that's when you're going to want to hit the interact button. And then as soon as you hit that interact button, you're going to want to, I'd say, spam your jump button. And you're going to gain that extra bit of height. So say there's an enemy on the other side of this wall here. And I know that he's on the other side of this wall. Instead of doing something like, you know, you could do a peek where you climb the wall and then you jump off and hit a little cheeky thing there where you jump like that and you get some extra damage off. I've done this in an arenas game once. RIP arenas. Like, I just love doing this peek, but I find that when you have a Pathfinder zip, yes, you could use it for actually, like, doing something good, where you could have it where if you need to, you can still get the zip line out. Like, if you need to go away and you are you're kind of getting pushed, you can have it where your zip line, like, if say I place the same zip line here, right? And then instead of maybe placing it like there, I would probably maybe place it somewhere where I could go far away, where I could still do my jump peek, get the peek off, maybe get some cheeky damage, and then also if needed to, I could just get out of there, where I would once more again try and have it where I'm trying to get my zipline in a position where I can still jump peek over the wall. I can zipline peek, but yet also at the same time manage to have an escape plan. Which obviously, you know, maybe not obviously, but you know, you're playing Pathfinder, so someone might be like, oh, well, just zipline away. Yes, you can, but you might have your zipline, you might have your grapple on cooldown. So that's just one thing to kind of keep in mind when thinking about all these peaks. Especially this Pathfinder one. Now, to show that it isn't just Pathfinder only, obviously, if you're able to do it with one legend, you're able to do it with all legends, except for situationally Valkyrie.
Wings up.
So if you're doing that, right, you might as well just try and do something where I don't even think you can cancel that animation. You might as well just fly over the wall and pop your missiles. I know I miss those, but you might as well just do that and use your missiles. There's no other reason why. But when your jets are out of fuel, that's when you're actually able to do this, or your Revenant Silence. That's when you're also able to use this as a Valkyrie. Now let's play as. Let's go over to Bangalore.
Drop, shock, and rock.
So you might do a little peek there. You might even do a little peek, and I think you'd have to kind of have your like it'd be hard to do a jump peek and place your smokes unless you already placed the smokes there beforehand. But other than that, it would be very hard to try and, you know, get a smoke grenade over there. As Bangalore, you could also hit something as Wraith, potentially, where you could, like,
Void running.
phase, or, you could phase, and maybe do a little peek like that, where if you don't want to expose yourself and risk yourself getting shot, you could do the peek in your phase, and they really won't know about it unless they actually see the trail from the portal, from your phase. But other than that, if I go like this, I can easily see over that, and I can easily see the enemies. So then I can go again, know that they're over there, confirm they're over there, and get a nice little jump peak going on. And then again, get out of there if and when needed. And you can pair all of these up with like different movement things where you could like, you know, do that. And then potentially, you know, because you have the momentum from up here, from being up so high, like that. And then you could have enough momentum to pull off something like maybe a B hop. Like I just did that, but then I kind of messed it up. It may be a little bit harder to do, but definitely a lot of things are... There's a lot of potential you can do when comboing different movement skills together. Now, if you want to learn any more movement, this is more of like the advanced movement that I can actually perform and actually show today. Obviously, there will be multiple different types of movement tech. There will be movement tech for PC only, movement tech for... Because if there's something for PC only, it will be PC only. But if you're able to do it on console controller, then that means you're able to do it on PC controller. There's no real console only movement. There's only PC only movement, such as tap strafing and neo strafing. Which this was actually thought to be... This Pathfinder peak, or this zipline peak, was actually thought to be a PC only movement, a PC only technique that you could actually do, and later was it actually debunked that no, you are able to do this whilst in a active, you know, on a console, which I would say is very useful. And then you should be able to, like, if I have like an evac tower here, you should be able to do certain things, like do the same thing. I mean, at the same time, you might as well just go like this and just use a tall zip line to just kind of get your peak. But definitely horizontal zip lines, it's way better to do. It's much more viable to actually use. And then I guess I could say one more thing is using Wraith. Using Wraith, when she's in her phase, she gets a little bit of some sort of a movement increase. So certain gaps that you couldn't jump as, you know, a regular in your base form or just as a regular legend, maybe like Octane as an exception because he has his stims, but without some sort of actual movement, you wouldn't actually be able to do it. Wraith gets that little extra speed boost, so you could actually cross gaps. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, without mantling, like, there's some way you can actually cross, like, the gap here without mantling. Like, if I try it, should be able to do it with phasing. Yeah, like, while phasing, I was perfectly fine to jump that ledge, not mantle, and slide and have a lot of extra mobility to it. Now, when it comes to using a Wraith portal, a lot of the time people pair it up with, you know, to cover some distance, use a super glide while you portal. Really useful. Super glide while you portal. And then you do that, and then you get your nice useful portal, and then you go through the portal. You know, you're able to do that. And then same thing with that movement, you're able to... It's even better when you have your ult and you pop your tactical, because you can pop your tactical, and then you hit something like a super glide, and you'll gain even more distance with that super glide, knowing that you have that movement increase with the Wraith phase. Now, I hope that's going to be the end of this tutorial on how to get better at Apex Legends. I hope that this did help if you are a newer player, a new player, someone coming back, someone that's just trying to learn and figure out the next step. I hope that this helped out. And yeah, leave a comment if you guys would like any more like, if you guys want any other guides like this, any other orientated guides towards certain games, like I could do, since I play Rainbow Six Siege, I could do a Rainbow Six Siege guide, how to get better at Siege, or like basic Siege knowledge, site setups, you know. That one will probably be definitely a longer video if we're talking about doing site setups. I would have to try and cut it down short. It would have to be like maybe one map, like 1 or 2 maps per episode. But other than that, then I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I hope that, again, this tutorial helps, or this guide helps you actually get better at playing Apex. No matter whether you're a beginner, you are new to the game, or yeah, you're a beginner, you know, you're brand new, you are returning, or you once again are just trying to learn where to go. You're trying to seek guidance on where the next step, or what the next step should be when you are a player. Now, the levels that I said, if you may not be level 150, right? Just because you're not level 150 doesn't restrict you to actually learning all of these. You could be someone who wants to learn movement. You could be a level 50 that somehow is really good at super gliding, which therefore would allow you to progress, which means that you have progressed, and will allow you to progress in your lobbies and get better as a player. But the levels are only just recommendations of maybe when you should start actually, you know, learning and practicing all these different moves. And then anything else, any other type of, you know, any other type of, like, movement, like, I know mantle jumps. I don't know how to mantle jump. Sadly, I don't know how to mantle jump. I would be more than happy to, you know, drop links down. You can also do your own research too, to find out how to do mantle jumping, which is something that is, I would say, is very required. Like, I myself am trying to learn how to mantle jump. So, yeah. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
원래 수배대가 마블러시 남의 딱야 남의 도개 가발리니 갤러 하크 I have to go and bam bam let's go